Hi, my name is Scott Pieper. I'm the CEO of Mobilization Funding. Today, I wanted to really focus on why our loan program is good for the general contractor. All the time, I'm getting questions from not only GCs asking me that, but also very often subcontractors are nervous or scared or they're fearful to bring us up to their general contractor. And the reality is, we are there for the project. Yes, our client, our direct client, is the subcontractor most often. But we have lots of general contractor clients, particularly the ones that do a lot of work self-performing certain scopes. So let's talk about why we're good for the general contractor, which ultimately means we're good for the project itself. And obviously, if we're good for the project, we're good for the owner, the general contractor, and our direct client, the sub. First, most importantly, I think it's safe to say that the most important thing on any construction project is the performance of it. Why are we there? We're there to do, build, construct something, and that needs to be done, and making that happen is the most important thing. The second thing is cash flow on the job. Cash flow for subcontractors is very difficult because they have to do all the work up front first. They put an invoice in, and then it often takes 30 plus days or more to get paid. We help with the cash flow of it. We do it by making loans based off of the project itself to give some capital liquidity to these contractors that they can use to mobilize on the job. Yes, our company name is Mobilization Funding. What we do is we provide cash up front for them to use for labor, material, equipment, any job-related cost. Could be insurance, premiums. Now, why is that important to the general contractor? I hear all the time general contractors say to me, I'm not going to work with subs that don't have any money. Okay, that's great. And you know what? If you're a general contractor that can do that, kudos. But the reality is there's a real shortage of labor out there. And the folks that are really good and can perform, they're being asked to do more and more of these projects. As you do more and more projects, you need more and more cash. And if your projects take a lot of cash up front, that means you're pulling more and more cash. You're putting more and more constraints on your cash with every job you take, which is obviously a risk to the individual client, but it's also a risk to not only the project that someone's working on, but all of the projects. So by us providing the cash up front to use for the project, it really provides safety to the performance risk, at least for the scope of work that we're working with our client on. Now, we're not just a lender. We're not here just to provide money off of that contract. We only are providing loans to people that we can actually help. So what does that mean? It means that we actually go through the entire project cash flow with our clients up front. We want to know what they're going to spend the money on, what their costs are, not our money, but we want to know what the costs are of the project week by week. Labor, subcontract labor, equipment, material. When do they need to pay for those things? When do they need to order those things? What is the credit that they have from their suppliers? Do they have to pay COD or do they get 60-day terms? Then we do two things. We see where those cash flow shortages are, which are typically in the beginning of the project. And wherever those weekly cash flow shortages are, that's the amount of money that we would consider providing to them in the form of a loan. And after we add all that up, if we can make the loan to them and help them execute on the project, then we'll make that project loan. Typically, that's no more than 20% of the contract value. And it's usually never 20% of it all up front on day one because it's not always needed on day one. It's needed across the scope of each of those weeks as the project unfolds. Now, some projects are 1 or 2 months long for a certain scope. Some are 6, 8 months, 12 months long. So it depends on the project. But the goal of the cash flow diagram that we put together for them is to show each subcontractor, according to the schedule that they need to keep in order to maintain the performance of the project, what cash flow needs and what cash flow constraints do they have to keep up with that schedule. It doesn't do the general contractor any good for a sub to jump on a job and not be able to meet the schedule because they don't have the cash. They never had the cash to start with to even come close to meeting that schedule. And how does that look for a general contractor? Well, if you have a scope of work, a contractor that's about to come on that job site, and you know they need to have 5 or 6 people there and equipment and lifts and some trucks, and they show up with half the amount of people and no lifts and 1 truck, well, it's not because they don't want to put that there. It's because they don't have the cash to put in that many people there. So they want to get 1 month under their belt and pull some money off the job so they can start going. And then the cycle starts. So what we do is we'll provide those upfront money, and now you have a subcontractor that not only has a pool of money to use to put all the right people on the job up front and all the right equipment and all the right materials ordered, but now they can actually do the job in a better, the most efficient way because it's not a problem with cash. And so the third and final thing that we really do to protect the project is that when the general contractor pays our client, we also make sure that that money stays on the job. And we do that by receiving those monies paid to our client, not paid to us, but paid to the client. We deposit that in an account, and we make sure that the subs, suppliers, vendors are paid who are being paid for that period, as well as reimbursing anything that we've already paid for. And then we want to make sure that there's enough money left over so that the subcontractor has the money they need to keep up with that schedule and keep up with that workflow for the next month forward until they're paid again. Those are the main key things that we really do to keep the performance on the job, which is the number one most important thing and why it's the best for general contractors. The last thing that we do that really helps is we help our clients also get bonding if they need it for bonded jobs. We are partnerships with USI as an insurance carrier, for example, who will look at our loans as liquidity to approve a performance and payment bond for a client to actually bond them. We'll also provide a ton of back office support because we're looking at the cash flows. We're managing those cash flows. We're letting our client know exactly where they stand from a cash perspective. And cash is king. How you manage the cash on a project is how well you're going to perform. And then the last and final thing is we're there to provide any other financial support as things get delayed, whether it's weather delays or other things that are just happen on construction that are unplanned for. So I hope this video really helps you guys. I hope it gives some perspective as to why we're good for the whole project, not just our client, why we're different, why we're not just making loans, how we do it in a very sophisticated way that's there to help both the subcontractor, our client, as well as the general contractor and the owner of the project and keep the performance of the overall project. Thank you very much for watching.